Okay, now we're going to do now is tutorial 2, which is another ASPX page, but what we're going to do this time is also bring in style sheets. We're going to learn about scripting blocks, and we're going to learn about some common so-called ASP controls, such as the label control. Okay, so we're going to start as usual in Visual Studio. I'm going to use the previous project that I created, and I'm going to add another page to it. So if you want to think of the hierarchy, Visual Studio breaks things up into things called projects. Projects themselves can have pages, can have classes, can have all kinds of stuff in them, so we don't have to write a new project for every single thing we do. So let's create a new page. We're going to right click on the project header at the top there. Let me just show you that again. I right click where it says my first web application, choose add, choose new item. Okay, and in new item, what I'm going to be doing is creating a web form, and we're going to follow the same naming convention as the previous, which is going to say something like hello2.aspx. Okay, so I call that hello2.aspx, and what that will do shortly is create a file called hello2.aspx in the Solution Explorer. Okay, so we've got that. Okay, and now I'm going to go back into the tutorial, and we're going to find the initial code, which is presented here with the straightforward so-called HTML and CSS. So let me just select it. If I can control my mouse, select the code, Control C, copy it, go back into Visual Studio. Now instead of this is the design interface. Okay, so we don't want to use that. I want to go into the source interface. Okay, and I'm going to select all of the source and just replace it with what I took from the tutorial. Okay, now then, see an interesting thing here. What we've actually got is a style sheet. Okay, what is a style sheet? A style sheet is a place where you can group together information giving instructions to the web page on how it will display certain things. The idea being that if you put in details of, say, for example, the color of backgrounds, things like that, in one place in a website, then you could then change the color of all the pages in just one place, rather than having to go through every single page and change, say, the instructions saying which background color it's going to be. By using a style sheet, which all the pages can then connect to, you can then, rather than in every single page say what color, say, the background or the heading text or things like that will be, you can actually specify it in a style sheet itself. But as you see, we've got here, it says ./style.css. So what that means is it is in a subfolder called style, and there is a file called style.css in that. So let's create a new folder here. So we're going to add a new folder. Okay, and I'm going to call that style. Okay, so inside my application, I've created my folder style, and then inside my style, I'm going to have to create a style sheet. So let's now click again, right click, choose add new item. Okay, now I'm not sure if they've got style sheets here. Let's see if they do. They do indeed. Okay, they've got a style. Now then, I think ours is going to be called style.css, so let's just change the name of that to style.style.css. Okay, click add, and what that should do is create a style.css page, but not in our directory where we want it. So let's now drag that into our style directory. Okay, so now in my style directory I've created the file style.css. Okay, so having done that, now I click on style.css, and I will again copy from the tutorial the contents of the style sheet. So here it is: div, background color, hash FFE0. Okay, so I mean, if you are not familiar with programming or computer science very much, if you're very new to this will all seem like gobbledygook, won't it? Okay, let me just explain to you what that means. A div in effect means a division of the page. So it's if you like a region of the page. Okay, that's what a div is. Okay, it's saying that whenever you see a div tag in the HTML, a tag being the angle bracket with the div inside it, you should make that div have this color FF E0. Okay, now then, what does that mean? Okay, well, this is a color specification, and the way you specify colors on computers, as you probably already know, but so excuse me for stating the obvious, is red, green, and blue. So each of the first two digits represents a color, and it's represented in a notation called hexadecimal, meaning base 16. So instead of numbers going from 0 to 10, the numbers are going from 0 to 16. But if you want to represent, if you like, in a single character, the number 15, for example, what we do is we use the letter F, because what we have is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, then A for 10, B for 11, C for 12, E for 13, F for 14. Sorry, oh dear, I remember we just got that wrong somehow. Sorry, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9. Then it maybe 0 for 10, A for 11, B for 12, C for 13, D for 14, E for 15. No, it is A for 10. Anyway, whatever. Let's just not worry about that. That essentially means maximum red, maximum blue, but not quite maximum green, which I can't exactly remember what color that will generate. But we will see. Ultimately, we will see. So let us go back into our hello2.aspx. Now then, this is the code here as we have it. As remember before, we have to put in a page directive to tell the thing that we are actually using VB. So let's just copy the page directive at the top of the page there. Page language equals VB, and we put that before anything else. So let's go back now into Visual Studio, and at the very top of the page we put in our command which says, tells the server we are definitely working in VB. Okay, and having done that, hopefully, if everything goes to plan, we should be able to see something. So let's start debugging, pressing the play button. Okay, pressing the play. Maybe we always get this silly error message, so run without debugging, click OK, and what should appear is in our browser what the contents of that page are. So here we have then hello world again. Okay, nothing very interesting there. We've just essentially created the page which says hello world again. Okay, so now what then we're going to do next is to put in, as we said here, a code declaration block. Okay, and in this code declaration block, what we do is we create these kind of script, this whole area here. This is all done within script tags, and this means that it's a bit like the angle bracket percent signs in the previous tutorial. There's a similar sort of thing, but this is, if you like, a more formal way of representing to the server that this part of the page is going to be processed by the server. Okay, and then and so therefore what happens here is not what will be directly in the HTML. It'll be processed and then put into the HTML. So let us copy that particular bit of script, okay, and then let's put it into the page here. It goes under the I think it goes under the link. Let me just have a look again. It goes under the HTML, under HTML before the head. So let us go back again. So let's go under the HTML before the head. We put in that script expression, script run at server. Okay, and so it says here sub page load. Okay, you won't understand this now, so I won't explain it. But anyway, if you like these things, this will happen as soon as every time the page is loaded, this code will be called. So every time, if you like, your browser types in the address which is represented by this page, then this code will get triggered, if you like. So as soon as your browser points to the page, this gets triggered and happens before anything visible happens in the page. Okay, so if you like, at the very beginning, as soon as your browser's got to that page, this thing happens, and this happens before all of this. Okay, Okay, now that's quite important, extremely important as we learn more and more about ASP. Okay, so that's the first thing. We've created our script block, and now what does the script block do? Create this object label1.text. Okay, we're saying that the text of an object called label1 will contain this string, hello world, the time now is, which is a constant, so therefore it's in quotes, followed by, however, a querying of the computer's own clock to find out what is the time. So the time, date time, if you like, is the object which contains all time-related stuff, essentially. Now refers to a subset of that time-related stuff, which pertains to this very present moment. Okay, and toString is something you'll see increasingly as you get used to ASP. It's a particular way of turning any kind of data into a string. So if I had a set of integers, for example, then if I said these integers toString, what it does, it converts them into something which can be represented as text, okay, but which no longer adds up. So toString takes data in very different forms and turns it into something which can be essentially printed out either to a screen or to a piece of paper via a printer. Now you'll notice that there's a funny squiggly line under label 1, and there is a kind of an error icon of a kind of a circle with an exclamation mark, indicating there's something wrong with that. And namely, there is something wrong with it at this very moment. Namely, label 1 does not exist. We've said the text of label 1 should contain this, but we haven't actually ever told the server what label 1 truly is. So that is something that, and it says it's never been declared. So what we need to do then is in some way declare that. So let's go back to the tutorial again. Okay. Label 1 text. Okay. There it is. Label 1 text. Now then, here, if we go down a bit further down the tutorial page, you'll notice that finally we can actually use our div. You know, remember up before we created the div and we created a style sheet which said that all divs would be showed in a particular color. Well, now what we can do is if we copy and paste this div under Hello World in the main body of the page, so let's go back to the Visual Studio, in the main body under Hello World, then we're going to now paste in, okay, this label, okay, label 1. Okay, and you see there, by pasting that in, creating this ASP label object whose ID is label 1, we have got rid of the squiggly line underneath here, which was telling us that there was a problem with label 1. Now there no longer is a problem with label 1, because label 1 definitely exists. It has been declared, and it is of type ASP:label. Okay, it is, if you like, well, ASP:label. It's just a label. The ASP is what is called a namespace. But anyway, I'll say that you don't need to know that right now. Okay, what that effectively done is effectively creating a place where anything here can be put. So ASP label 1, run at server label 1 ASP label is a placeholder for anything that be put into this label 1 object. If I quickly just go into the design window, we currently remember in the source window. If I go into the design window, you'll see something potentially slightly interesting, or maybe not actually. But if you go into 9, what it should try and do is show you a kind of idea of what the page will look like. And there you see, there we've got our div with its kind of slightly beigey brown kind of color, which is indeed what was specified by our style sheet. Let's go into our style sheet. There you see style.css. There's our style sheet, which tells us that the style of all these divs are going to be this slightly beigey brown, which is FFE0. Okay, there's page 2.aspx. We're in the design field now. Let's go back into the source, because that's what the tutorial is about. So we're in the source, okay, and now let's see if that will work. Okay, so I'm going to start debugging. I'm going to press play. Again, well, this irritating run without debugging. Let's click OK. Okay, and now you should see that in this slightly beigey line, I'm hoping that the video recorder will catch that. It says hello world. The time now is 25th of the 6th 2009, 16:26:46. So you're probably watching this, probably I would imagine in October. You realise now that I'm in a very, very hot office, sweltering under the heat, and it's 4:30 in the afternoon as I'm trying to kind of demonstrate to you how to use ASP.NET. So there it is. Now this is, of course, is very different from the static HTML in the sense that it is dynamic. This field and this date will be different depending on whenever I do it. So let me just if I were to run it again, let's close this down, okay, and let me go back into Visual Studio. I'm gonna run this again. I'm gonna start debugging. Oh dear, run without debugging. And now I'm just going to play back, and it's going to say 16:27:56. A minute has elapsed since I first looked at it. Okay, let's close that down again. And now let's do a few little interesting things. Let's go into the style sheet. Let's maybe kind of mess with the style sheet. Let's break the style sheet's balls a bit. So let's put 99 instead of FF, which is going to reduce the red component. Okay, so what's that going to do to hello2.aspx? Let's click on hello2 and then click the play button, get the inevitable run without debugging dialog, click OK, and then in this we're saying you've suddenly gone cyan. Okay, so there it is. You see, we can then, with using that style sheet, we can change the color of the page even though we're not actually in that page. And the beautiful thing is, if we have, say for example, a site where we want to associate certain colors with certain types of content, for example, suppose we're doing an educational site and every so often there are instructions to the users which you want to be highlighted maybe with yellow background and very dark text, we could have a special category inside our style sheet saying, instruction to user, and that will then become what will always appear, always the same on all pages. And if we suddenly decide, some people say that's not a very nice color to give instructions to the user, and we change the color, we can just change it once and all our pages will be changed in terms of the color. So that is the benefit of using style sheets. Okay, so and we've seen a little bit then to now of what we need to do in ASP.NET. Okay, so that is essentially the second tutorial. What I would suggest you do is kind of maybe have a little more experimentation, change the colors in the style sheets, maybe add another label. Okay, so that's something you could definitely do. Try adding another label control, label 2, and add code to the page, load event handler, and put some text into that as well. Okay, so anyway, so that's done for the second tutorial.